Hi everybody, my name is Mike Benziger and I own and operate Glentucky Family Farm with my wife Mary, and we grow ashitaba, summer savory, and dandelion for Dr. Cowan's garden. We live on Sonoma Mountains, about 1,000 feet up. Really a wild place. Glentucky Family Farm is a certified biodynamic farm. And one of the main tenets of biodynamics is to create all your own fertility from within the farm, which means that your waste stream becomes your nutrient stream. So in the past, we used to pay maybe $1,000 a month to have all this material carted off the property. Now, it's like gold for us. So this is our compost pile here, and this is a mature compost pile ready for use. And you could say that compost is probably the most powerful biological material on the planet. One handful will contain 15 to 20 billion, not million, billion microbes in it. So we use compost less for fertility and more for soil vitality. We want soil that's alive. So if you look at this compost here, smells like a diet of chocolate to me. I almost want to eat this stuff. But this is the basis of our soil fertility. When we grow plants in material like this, that is teeming with microbiology and microbes, that means that we can elevate the nutrition and we can elevate the medical properties that are within our crops. So you can see here, we have all of the spent plants and the spent vegetation from the garden, and then that's mixed with the animal bedding, which is really kind of like the fuel for the compost. And with nothing else added, just mixing, over time it ferments down to this beautiful material here that we use as the basis for all of our soil vitality and soil fertility. Making good compost is almost as complicated as fermenting and making good Cabernet Sauvignon. And that's why I like to have our compost here overlooking the Cabernet Sauvignon. So it gets the message that it's got to perform at a very high level. When you recycle your material year after year from the ingredients that are within the farm, you start to develop your own proprietary biology in the soil. And that's really the holy grail, because then you can produce food and you can produce medicinal plants that have the actual fingerprint of the property on it. Another important part of the biodynamic farming process is having animals on the land. Farms and properties that have animals on it usually have about 25 to 30% more microbiological activity. And sheep are just perfect because they do three things with every step. They eat, they poop, and then they till it under with their hooves. They're like these little fertility factories that move across the field and eventually fertilize the entire garden and the entire property. And really, the basis for all the nutrition and the basis for everything that we do that's good for plants comes out of the soil. The soil is the foundation for the whole property. These plants are growing in soils that have been biodynamically maintained, which means they have a huge amount of soil life to them. They're teeming with microbes. And each one of these microbes contributes to the medicinal properties of the plant. So when you have billions and billions of microbes out there that are moving in trace elements and different minerals into the root system, it's producing plants with the absolute maximum of medicinal properties. And because we can't use any pesticides and we can't use any herbicides that are artificial, we use a natural pest control. And I call it, if you build it, they will come. And so what that means is placing insectary plants, those are plants that attract the good guys, the good bugs, the good bats, the good beetles, the good birds, and so on and so forth. We'll plant in between the ashitaba and the other medicinal plants so that the good bugs come in and then they go out and they eat the bad bugs that are on the plant. And so over time, you get this natural balance between predator and prey, a self-regulating system where you can eliminate all of the inputs, all of the pesticides and things like that. And once you eliminate that, that's when the real party starts in nature. So you can see that we've woven in flowers and plants into all the garden beds that we have here, so that we have all the good guys in the beds helping to take out the bad guys. And when plants are challenged by a little bit of bad insects chewing on them, their immune system really starts to activate, and they start to send out chemicals that repel bugs. Glentucky Family Farm is 100% solar. We're really sensitive about the resources that we use. We want to be as conservative as possible. So all the water that we pump out of the ground, when we pump it out, all the electricity that we use is supplied naturally by the sun. We're also really concerned about water. We collect 60 to 80,000 gallons of rainwater a year, and that supplies about 60% of the needs for the garden here and to grow the medicinal plants, the ashitaba, the savory, and the dandelion. These investments in solar and these investments with water have really been great for us, because not only do they save us money, but they're also conserving the resources in the area here, which are really slim. And so if you take a look at the plant here, these are just baby ashitaba plants that are just beginning their life run. They're very difficult to germinate from seed. It takes dozens and dozens of seeds before you can get one to grow. But once they take hold, they are pretty good growers. Well, you can see already how healthy these plants are and starting to grow. And they'll actually get new leaves like this almost every day or every other day. It's really a remarkable plant. The more time I spend with it, the more I'm impressed. So this is what a fully mature ashitaba plant looks like. And so later in life, it starts setting up the seeds, and a little bit later we'll harvest these seeds so we can continue to propagate the plants.
In the stems, when you cut it, it oozes out this yellow liquid, bright yellow. It's an amazing color. It actually stains your hands. It's sticky, a little resinous, and that's the sap that contains this chemical called chalcones. There's intense study with this chemical, which is an aromatic ketone, interestingly enough, to prevent cancer growth in humans.
When we pick the plants and we pick the stems, we always like to pick it during the day when the sap is running through the plant. That way we get the maximum medicinal properties of the plant in the medicines that you are buying. Another plant that we're growing for Dr. Cowan's garden is called summer savory. And it is a beautiful plant. It's one of those rare plants that is actually really good for you and actually tastes really good.
I got interested in summer savory because a team of husband and wife researchers at Purdue University were studying proteins that go up with aging. And then they started looking at plants that actually had an effect of lowering the level of protein in the blood. And they found that a number of plants did that. Rosemary does it, oregano does it, thyme does it. But the number one plant that lowered this level of this protein associated with aging in the blood was actually summer savory. When I heard that, I set out to try to find a way not only to eat it myself, but to give it to my patients. And I found that nobody was growing it, nobody was producing it for sale. So we decided, you know, why not do it ourselves? But I use it every day in my eggs and my soup and pretty much any savory dish that I eat. So it's a great plant.
For me, it's one of the most important things in a garden is to integrate beautiful things into the garden, because plants are way more sensitive than people are. And plants sense beautiful colors, they sense beautiful aromas, they sense the pheromones and the hormones that these other plants give off. And when you have a balance of beauty and color and aroma, then plants feel comfortable and they'll give you everything they got.